it was like on WNC, so it was a local,
Okay.
the local postal official.
Yeah, because every state's got
Yeah.
their own rules about this.
Right, that's
And
true. That's true.
you
Yeah,
can here's something, make sure that that's what's going on here.
right,
Sure.
right. But maybe we should all keep our ears out just to get a better clarification on that and see if we keep hearing that same thing over and over again. That's something we can believe if we keep hearing that
That's great.
versus some sort of contradiction of that. So
I want to just tell you what I'm putting in the chat. And Jewel has been sending out the chat. Jewel, can you do that today? Send
Yes.
out the chat. So when people come later, they only see the chat from when they come in. But Jewel sends out the whole chat. So this first thing is something that's happening Thursday night. And it looks really interesting. So check that link. It's called Voting in Troubled Times, and Reclaim Our Vote is sponsoring it. And then the other thing is an article that Cliff sent, which is really good, about how Trump has launched a three-pronged attack on our election system. So those are the two things I put in the chat. I just want to call your attention to. And David Anderson said, postmarked by 5 p.m. on Election Day in North Carolina. Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes.
You mean a person when they come in can't go all the way back to the start of the chat?
Right.
That's
They
right.
only see from when they came in.
Okay, good enough. And then I just want to make sure I have the ability to put music on the screen.
Oh, right. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, Rance, Mark, I copied what you posted, and I was going to paste it back in when you started. So.
Oh, good. Thanks, Mark.
That's really good. That's really good.
Randa, will you be screen sharing for the grannies as well?
Oh, it's for the grannies. Yeah.
Oh,
That's yeah.
Because I saw yours already up on chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I also put a notice in the chat about Moral Mondays continuing every Monday until Election Day.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah. 3:30 on Monday. You get on with, I put it in the chat. You can either get on the live stream on the Poor People's Campaign website or their Facebook page. And then we make phone calls to elected officials. It's been Mitch the first 2 times, but that could change depending on what kinds of obstruction other officials are conducting. So a way to, it's a way to stick together. And we've been generating a lot of phone calls and jamming up the lines in Kentucky and in DC. So that's been fun.
Great. That is so great.
And Reverend Barber is having a press conference at 1:00 this afternoon because they're releasing the report on the on the effect and the importance of poor people's votes and how there are more of them than there are in terms of the difference between winning and losing elections. So that's at 1:00 today, and I'll put the link in the chat too.
Thanks, Vicki. Thanks, Vicki.
Sure.
So I just want to say what we're going to do today. We're going to have a discussion around depression and its relationship to grief. Bessie is leading us in that, and that's going to be the first half. And then the second half, we're going to go back to the subject of elections, obviously the most important subject these days, and also the COVID-19 relief package, which is the other thing that seems the most important right now. And I want to take time to remind everyone that we are live on Facebook and on Triangle Talk Show. So if at any point you don't want to be live, I think Gary can get us unlive for that. And also the chat, of course, is not carried as far as I know. I don't think it is. And so that's private among us. And the other part of the format is it seems like the topic that Bessie is bringing to us is so rich, and the topic of elections is so dense as well, that the only music we're going to have is Randa singing at the beginning, and hopefully we'll all join her, and the grannies singing at the end. And we're really glad that we have grannies today. So they'll be singing the closing song, and then Scarlett will close us out. So that's the map. But it doesn't mean that you can't bring up other things. Okay. So welcome everyone. And while people are still coming in, we can take time to mute ourselves except for Randa.
Is that the cue? Okay. I'm going to sing this together a little more slowly today in honor of where we're going to go. And the words are in the chat. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, oh, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm saying their names with my mind. Stayed on justice. I'm saying their names with my mind. Stayed on justice. Now I'm saying their names with my mind. Stay on justice. Hallelujah. 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 Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Thank you so much. Wow, it's so great to see everyone. We have only almost 60 people already. Welcome, and it's so great to see your faces. Some people that we haven't seen for a while, and new people. Anyone here for the very first time? Can you raise your hand? Welcome to. Was there anyone here for the first time? You can unmute yourself if you are. Welcome everyone to Tuesdays with Tillis. This is week number 185. Thank you so much for continuing to show up, continuing to study and look at all this stuff that's painful to look at, and yet somehow, because we're doing it together, we can stay afloat in the midst of this. And so every week we come together to learn from each other and also to listen to our own hearts and the hearts of one another. So I'm inviting everyone right now to feel yourself in your body. ground yourself on this beautiful earth. And even though we're not physically together, feel how we are a community. Feel how we are one in our longing for justice, in our longing to be a democracy in this country, and in our longing for an end to poverty and racism and militarism and ecological devastation. And I'm inspired every day by people that I'm looking at in these little squares. And one of the people that I'm endlessly inspired by is Bessie Keaton, who was an analyst in Washington, D.C. for many years and retired. And we're so fortunate that she came not only to North Carolina, but to Scarlett's neighborhood. And we really appreciate you, Bessie, and I appreciate so much. I ask her, well, what do you think we should do this week? And I love what you said, and I want you to just take it away. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. All around us, much is happening so fast, I think we don't have time to process what we're feeling. Anger, disappointments, impotence, isolation, grief. So for the next few minutes, I want you to take yourself away from thoughts of caring for others and turn your attention to yourself and how the questions in the August 3rd Care and Comfort Committee's letters apply to you. Pick a question or sentiment and consider expressing as much as you're comfortable in this open forum about how you're affected. Don't worry, Karen will bring us back to our mission in a few minutes. In the Care and Comfort letter penned by Jewel, several questions about grief were asked of the reader. Do you ever wonder if you're even allowed to feel bad on your own account? You may ask yourself, how can I be hurting when others, some for decades, or have been risking life and limb? Is it acceptable to hurt for my own sake? What am I sad about? What messages do we carry about being sad about our losses, big and small? These days, what is our relationship with sadness? Is it something to push away, to get over, to compare with others, to be honored? Also in the letter is a link to an article, Teaching Children the Skill of Grieving. The authors of the Care and Comfort letter wrote about the article, written pre-pandemic, raises profound questions or points about the importance of allowing space in our hearts for our own sadness, not just our grief for the plights of others. And it shows that life is given more meaning and made more rich when we can hold pain and love, darkness and light together inside as one package, being careful to not let the pain nullify the love or the darkness blot out the light. Since reading the Care and Comfort letter and the article, I too have been thinking a lot about grief and how I was raised and holding pain and love and darkness and light together. Then I heard the news of Michelle Obama's revelation about depression. And I wondered about the intersection of grief and depression. It seems to me the line between grief and depression is thin. Grief and depression are quite different, but they have the same characteristics. And grief can spiral into depression. So if depression can be paralyzing and feels like nothing matters, but with grief, everything matters, what are we experiencing today? I had never thought of grades of depression before Michelle Obama's statement, but I think I understand what she means by low grade form of depression. It is low grade because we are not paralyzed. Most of the country is feeling a bit off, but we're not paralyzed. We are activists in the streets and like us at home and on Zoom every week, because where else would we be at 11:30 on Tuesday? Academics and reporters and historians are educating us. Some politicians are fighting for our right to vote safely during a pandemic, all doing the necessary work to effect change because everything matters. If we are not depressed, are we in a perpetual state of grief? So many questions. Because I associate grief with loss of loved ones and close personal friends, it has been difficult for me to appreciate the need to grieve over inanimate losses, of which there have been many during this time of COVID-19. But perhaps that is another reason we cannot process this COVID-related grief. And we feel and believe that in the grand scheme, our losses are trivial. That belief, in turn, makes us feel that instead of feeling loss, we should feel grateful. So we are, at once, grateful and in pain that is not properly processed. In effect, we are in a perpetual state of grief that we don't know how to move through. When I registered for a Lincoln Project webinar, I was given the option to answer the question, what has COVID-19 taken from you? So I want to invite you to think not about your losses, but what has COVID-19 taken from you? And apply the first question in the Care and Comfort letter to yourself. Remember, this time is all about you. The question, do you ever wonder if you're even allowed to feel bad on your own? Pick a personal issue, even what you might think or consider as trivial, that you are sad about, an issue that you are sad about. Accept that it is okay to hurt for your own sake, that you will own and honor your sadness and not push it away as something to get over. And as Michelle Norris said to Michelle Obama during their conversation in their podcast, don't reach for normal, reach for better. So I'm going to give a few minutes now for anybody who think they would like to share something about what they're sad about and just comment on it. One thing there are lots of things I'm sad about, and I feel that COVID has is the benefit of spontaneity to do things that retirement is supposed to free you to do. That's in the grand scheme of things, to me, that's trivial, but it's a loss. It's not on a grand scale, but it's a loss that I feel.
Thank you, Bessie.
No, Bess, I can identify with that because Jess and I go to the US Open. You know, we're big tennis fans, and we go to the US Open often this week. We went a lot when we lived in Maryland, actually. And our plan, when we went last year, our plan was to go again this year. We were going to go to Hawaii this year. And we have not done a lot. Jessa has, you know, an severe heart disease, and that's one of those underlying conditions where you just have to keep an extra layer of precaution built in, whatever you do. So we weren't planning on going this year, but the closer it got to, we would have probably been in New York, not next week, the following week. I'm not even sure what day it was. It's always end of August, beginning of September. And the closer it got to that time, I think I started to feel like something was really missing. And not that I didn't know something was missing before, that our routine was different. But I think when you have to change or sacrifice or do without something you really enjoy, that's when it kind of hits home. You know, for me, it did. You know, and I told Jess, I said, you know, the closer this thing gets, going to New York gets, the more I'm feeling the reason why we can't go. You know, so yeah, I can totally identify with that. Mm-hmm.
Doyle and Diane and then Penny.
I've been with 3 of our 6 grandchildren in recent weeks, and COVID has kept me from hugging them. That's been very significant.
Am I on?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So good morning to everyone. I hadn't been announced, so I didn't know if I could react, but I really must. Thank you, Miss Bessie, for what you said. Your comfort letter actually, it helped more than you know. It was my cousin that was killed Saturday in that motorcycle accident on Sunset in Charlotte. And he was with the bike club, and he was a professional biker, but he never saw the car coming that spun out of control. And so we'll be burying him on Saturday. So to answer and to tell you how much COVID has transformed my life, his death was a shock, but we're not grieving. We just haven't grieved because everything else is so intense that it's a loss. And I hope it comes, you know, it's coming, but we haven't truly grieved because it's just another major dump on our mental acuity. It's like anything else that's happening. Death, there are 150,000 people in this country who have died for no reason. And so his death, although it's personal to us and we loved him, we're just adding him to the number. It's a different type of mourning, and it scares me because I don't know when we're going to break. Anyway, you asked what has COVID taken away from me, and COVID has taken away my freedom. And as an African-American woman in the United States, I don't have a whole lot anyway. So it has taken away my freedom I travel for my work, can't do that. My mom lives alone in Florida and I see her twice a year, can't do that. And it's scaring me because she's in Florida. And so I can't watch the news. I can't watch the numbers coming out of Florida. So it's taken away a lot of freedom for me to be able to do what I truly love and to be with my loved ones. So it's not any specific thing. It's just my freedom. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I actually
You've covered all this stuff so many times before.
Political activist down in Charlotte. Joe Biden knows her by her first name, and Tom Tillis doesn't like her at all. So she's one of us. I'm sorry to hear about your cousin. So I agree with Doyle. I have an 18-month-old granddaughter, and I don't get to squeeze her, hug her, or whatever. You know, she's growing up, and I don't get to do what a normal grandmother gets to do. Before COVID, I went partner dancing 3 to 5 nights a week. I can't do that. I dance alone in my living room, and thank God I've got that. I painted every week with my painting buddy. We get to see each other on Zoom, but we have to go to the art studio at separate times. We don't get to, you know, critiquing our work doesn't work together. I mean, I have new things in my life because of Zoom. I know people from Vancouver, Canada, Montreal that I wouldn't have otherwise known. I don't miss the cold and the rain and the heat.
I think we lost you, Kenny.
That we lost you. Yeah.
Was she the last person in line to speak?
I don't know. Karen, you're muted.
Go ahead, Joy. Yes.
Well, it's not a fait accompli, but COVID has made it very undeniably clear to me that I need to sell my house that I've lived in for 25 years and start a rigorous search for a wheelchair accessible, affordable place to live. And that's just because I have been doing Airbnb in my house, and that's not happening enough to sustain. So that's where I'm at. And my body's been telling me that for a number of years, and now I need to execute it. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And that's making me very anxious.
Can imagine.
I can imagine about that. Yeah. We've actually contemplated moving to senior housing. My husband's 10 years older than I am, and he's got this heart condition, and we just trying to do some forward planning, I guess you could call it. I don't know. And just trying to anticipate what you might need down the road. We haven't done anything yet. I don't know. We could stay here. We don't have.
Yes, so thank you all for your comments and participation. Oh, Joe,
all that talking and nobody heard
but you're
me.
muted.
I was muted. I didn't realize nobody heard me. Okay.
No, I heard you, classes, but Joy was saying something. She's muted.
We heard you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're muted, Joy.
Yes, she's still muted, yeah. Is
I
Karen
have been
muted?
muting everyone who isn't talking because there's interference on the lines. That's
Well, Joy wants to talk.
okay. Joy, I'm sorry.
You muted her.
I'm not sure where the noise is coming from. And I'm sorry, Joy, I thought you were done and I can't find you to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Joy, you need to unmute yourself. Maybe she's not hearing us.
I thought she was done talking. Anyone else want to share?
Okay, well, I just want to thank everyone for your comments and input and participation in this little exercise. I know when we were on New Bern Avenue, we would occasionally, go around the group and have people make comments about what they were thinking in the moment or what they had been thinking during the week. And that came to me as I was putting this together, and I tried to weave it into this talk today. So thank you for participating. And I just want to close with a couple of statements.
Bess, can I just interrupt for a minute? There's a notice on here that says the noise is coming from your fan. Did you see that?
My fan?
Yeah, it said the noise is from Bessie, loud computer fan.
Oh,
That's what Gary put out. So I was just trying to.
I'm not sure she can do anything about it though.
Well, it's all. Yeah, I think it's good now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't hear. I don't know what that is. So in closing, I would say going forward, let's resolve that to take care of ourselves and stay strong for the work ahead. We will take time outs to embrace our sadnesses and hold pain and love, darkness and light together inside as one package. Being careful to not let the pain nullify the love or the darkness blot out the light. The light is in the gratitude we find in our grief and keeps us from full-blown depression as we move from grief to action, causing good and necessary trouble.
Beautiful, Bessie. Did anyone see the Finding Your Roots segment with John Lewis and Carrie Booker last Sunday night on PBS?
I have watched that show in the past, but I haven't watched it recently.
It was an amazing journey, but the final event was when Henry Louis Gates informed John Lewis that I believe it was his great-great-grandfather, 2 years after emancipation, went down to the courthouse and registered to vote and voted during that brief window of opportunity.
Yes.
Before Reconstruction crashed down. And John Lewis just started crying and wiping his nose and his eyes. And he just looked up at Henry Louis Gates and said, "Oh my, it was in my DNA."
Yeah. Yeah.
It was such an amazing moment.
Thank you for that, Joy, and thank you so much, Bessie. Yeah, thank you for that story. There are many people now talking about the ancestors who are with us now. And you don't have to be any particular religion for sure to call on the ancestors right now. This is a time when we really need them, and they're really there to help us, I think. And we all have different people that we can call on. I'm so grateful to you, Bessie, for bringing this up. I don't know about anyone else, but I felt like these were just a few pieces, and in all of us is a mountain. There are so many things that probably all of us could talk about that we have lost. And now we realize we maybe have lost for a long time. So something to think about is once in a while we've had kind of a special session on Thursday or something, and you might just want to put in the chat if you think it might be worth doing that around self-care, around grief, around what we've lost, because I think the genius of looking at this topic is that the more we allow ourselves to grieve and help one another grieve, the more energy will be released for working with the ancestors to make good trouble. So, clearly with every single subject keeps bringing us to, yeah, we need a lot of radical long-term change, and it's got to start with the election. And that unless we win in a landslide this election, we're in really deep trouble. So So full steam ahead to win this election by a landslide, and people are involved in so many ways. Everyone here figuring out exactly what the rules are, writing postcards, writing letters, doing phone banking. So I'm just going to open that up now, not only to what you're doing in case other people want to do it, but also what we're all learning about the ways that Trump is undermining this election in advance. So I'm going to open it up again.
Karen, am I still muted? This is Wanda.
Go right ahead.
I have gotten acquainted with Wally White, and he turns out to be the candidate running against Phil Berger in his district. He is a Unity minister. He looks like he may be 40 years old. He has a wonderful personality. He has a site on Facebook that you can go to get acquainted with him. I talked to him last night. I told him I'd be sending him a check, and if he needed cards done, I've got a Unity group here. I had a birthday over the weekend, and I had two parties, family party and Unity church member parties, and we all wore face masks unless we were feeding our faces. But I told Wally White we would be willing to do cards for him. What he really needs is telephone calls. Now, he did the stats this morning. I listened to him for a little while as his presentation on Facebook. There are more registered Republicans than Democrats in his district. He chose his district well, but there are lots of unaffiliated too. And if the unaffiliated went blue, we can beat him. Now, what would be any better than sending Phil Berger home? Wouldn't that be awesome? So take a look at him. Take a look at him on Facebook, Wally White for Senate, and you'll see what a pleasant young man he is. He went to Hollywood first, and maybe Shonda can look at that and say, yeah, me too, New York though. But anyway, Rhonda, Randa, I keep throwing her name. But anyway, so he's been to Hollywood and back. This is what he's chosen to do right now because he feels like it's so necessary. This is his home region, and he'd like to make a difference for it. Wally White.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Take a look and see.
Yay, howdy, and this is Karen, and I'm delighted to tell you that Wally White has signed on to our No Toxic Money Pledge. Yay,
Yeah,
so he won't take any money from Duke and Dominion, and he agrees to a moratorium on any toxic pipelines. Yay, Wally.
That's great, Karen. Do you want to highlight anyone else who signed that pledge that we should know about?
Well, you won't be surprised to hear that the awesome Jenna Wadsworth just signed on. Yay. So she is our first statewide candidate. Yay. Yay. And obviously Pricey and John Autry and some others too. Yep. Yay.
Thank you so much. Jenna Wadsworth is wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, she is.
And what's the office she's running for again?
She's the Commissioner of Agriculture against the Secretary of Ag against Icky Troxler. Yep.
She's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ricky Hurtado in Alamance County. You know what? I forgot if his district is 62 or you better look that one up. Ricky Hurtado, RICKYHURTADO, a young Hispanic. Well, he's American, born in the US of A, of Salvadoran parents. Went to UNC as a Moorhead Scholar. He's dynamite, friendly, really committed to equal rights for all, and economic justice and environmental justice, and is a delightful human being. Blakely just put on the chat NC63. He is definitely worth our vote and our financial support if we can.
He is wonderful, and he spoke for us once at Tuesdays with Tillis in one of our immigration rallies. Yeah, thank you. He's great. This is great.
There is a spread. Good morning, everybody. Bessie, I was boohooing. Thank you. there is a spreadsheet that you can download, general election, of all candidates, their addresses. It has everything by county, what the position, what the contest is for. It's a lot of detail in there. So just FYI, I can.
Put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
That's great. Elena, thank you so much. Evelyn.
Yeah, hi. I've done some phone banking for Ricky, and that's been very positive. And the other thing I've done is some phone banking with Durham for All, and that's been a great experience. Monday, Tuesday night, the person who does the training for the phone bank is excellent, and it's a dialer, so it's just been a really good experience. So I really highly recommend Durham for All.
Great, great. Yeah, run by young people, minority people of color, young people who are so dynamite people. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a list of 17,000 voters in Durham who did not vote in the last election. So that's who they're calling. And it's mostly Black and brown people. So it's been really very well organized.
That's terrific. Good.
That degree of organization is also true about Vote Forward. You basically send letters to registered Democrats who haven't voted very much. And I have found that to be really easy to do. And you really have the feeling that there's a good administrative effort behind it.
Me too. Vote Forward's been a great experience for me as well.
Reclaim Our Vote is another organization supported by the NAACP, targeting African-American voters across the country, although my postcards in the last tranche of addresses were all North Carolina, targeting low participation voters as well.
Yeah, that's Reclaim Our Vote. That is really good. A lot of NAACP groups are using that. I just put in the chat Louis DeJoy's home address. He is the Trump crony who has been put in charge of the Postal Service, who's busy undermining it. There was a massacre of 23 top postal employees. He's trying to slow down the mail. So there's a big drive by a lot of organizations to send him mail at his home address and tell him to cut it out. And call him on what Trump is doing with the Postal Service. Just before we do that, possibly the most important thing we can do right now is pressure GOP senators, and you know who they are, to pass the HEROES Act. And in the HEROES Act, there is relief for the Postal Service. So the HEROES Act, but also right alongside that, and maybe separately with your other calls and emails, we got to call Trump on what he's doing to the post office. Mm-hmm. We got to call him on that. And the post office has a 90% approval rating. And, he's trashing it and he's trashing democracy at the same time. So number one priority. Yeah, Darlene.
There was a report from NPR's Steve Inskeep that a postal worker in Waterloo, Iowa was reporting, I believe she's one of the union heads too, that they're not only banning overtime, but their sorting machines are being removed.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
I also saw last night, I think it was on Rachel Maddow's show, this fellow that has been doing a lot of research into the Postal Service, and he says, call your red state senators. The Postal Service is, is very popular, especially in rural areas. And so call your red state senators. And what was the thing that he has said to do? Maybe some of you saw it.
We did see that. He talked about how a lot of the rural areas, a lot of red state people live in the rural areas. Right. What they're not recognizing is that they're equally, probably maybe even more so affected by this whole attack on the post office. So yes, we heard that piece.
Right. And I think maybe he said,
the GOP senators are vulnerable here, and we need to dig
Yes.
in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would also just comment that many veterans receive their medications through the mail. They're not able, especially in rural areas. So the post office is absolutely critical for many
Yes.
veterans. Of course, many others who receive their medications through the mail also. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, has anybody heard about, they were putting these drop boxes around different places in the cities, and the president supposedly suing to limit use of those. Has anybody heard anything like that? We heard it yesterday.
I think I heard that.
Did you hear that? I was wondering if
Yeah.
if he's really gonna, I don't know what the latest is on it. We probably should try and listen out today, see if we hear any update on that. But I thought that was just
Drop boxes for?
to put your ballots
For
in.
ballots, yeah.
And then the elections people will pick them up. But he's saying, no, we don't want you doing that. So he was gonna actually sue to limit use of those drop boxes.
Yeah.
Talk about stupid low. I mean, this
And
is
he doesn't want any ballots accepted that are postmarked after election day. And I think North Carolina has a law, doesn't it, that you can mail them in until the 3rd?
Yeah.
3 days after the election day or something?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that on their website, on the North Carolina Board of Elections website. That I don't remember the exact details, but
I know the other thing that this fellow said to do is don't wait. Vote as soon as you possibly can and dropping it off at the election board instead of using the mail if you can.
Yeah, I think everybody's preaching. Even Eric Holder said that. Get those votes in early. Do not wait.
To clarify, as long as it's postmarked election day, even if it's received after, in North Carolina, it will be counted. They have until that Friday to count those votes. And again, this morning I spoke with my neighbor who's on the Board of Elections here in Durham. He said that as the ballots are coming in, they're being counted.
Oh, good. That was my question. Good.
They're being counted as they come in. They're not publicized, but they're being counted as they come in.
Good.
What about early voting? When are the early votes counted? Does anybody know?
As they come in, I think.
Okay.
Supposed to be.
But I didn't ask him that.
Those early
Not
votes
supposed
are
to be.
considered, those early votes are considered provisional votes.
Oh.
And
No.
you have to you have to watch the ones that I'm talking about the early votes that you have, they're considered provisional. And so they count those. I know in my county they do. They count those after, but I live in a strange county. They count those after the after election day. That's what they've been doing.
What county is that?
Union.
Yep, that's one of those.
That's right.
So I think we need to make it clear. So what we mean by early voting, this is Mark. So early voting, if you mean early voting, it starts October 15th. It runs to the Saturday before election day, which I think is the 31st.
31st.
Those are counted as they go.
Yeah.
And they're held there. That's all within the machinery, is part of the early voting process, at least with Wake County, but those all get counted.
Yeah, not the ones you go to the polls for early voting. It's the ones the ones that you mail in. They count them after, like they're extra votes.
So I think that was true previously. I think the absentee ballots, because they were a smaller number, if the outcomes were pretty much set, they may not have bothered counting them, but I think that's going to be different this time around.
That's right.
Well, we were on a Zoom with Supreme Court, our state Supreme Court, Ms. Sherry Barry the other day, Beasley, and she said that Beasley, and she said that we're still in court with a couple of those particular things that they want to take out so that people have more freedom to vote. She wasn't able to talk about it, obviously, in detail, but she said we're still in court and we're hopeful that it will get done before Election Day.
Okay.
Ellen.
Oh, I wrote to Louis DeJoy yesterday and sent it in the mail, and ended by asking him to resign immediately. And I went to my post office on Sunday when there's no traffic, and I went in and put up just a little sign that said, "We love our postal service," and then another sign that said, "Postmaster, stop messing with our mail." So I might just do that again, because I'm sure it got taken down. Somebody was in there and he said, what's that about? And I said, well, they're trying to privatize the postal service and slowing down the mail. So, I just don't think most people know this. I also put signs on my mailboxes in my development about the post office, how it doesn't receive taxpayer money, and the handouts that we got from the union head. I think I'm going to call him today, the head of the local postal workers union, and ask him what else we can do.
That's great, Ellen. That is just great. Little good trouble. That sounds great.
If you pay your bills by mail, a lot of people have had their mortgages come in late, credit card bills late, and you're getting fined and not fined, but penalized for late payments. So this is in addition to drugs not being seniors and military, et cetera. This is a serious situation, which could really throw a damper, a big form of voter suppression, as is people that'll be evicted.
Thank you for bringing that up. Eviction will be a huge problem for so many reasons, and that's one of them. I'm terrified about what's happening with evictions.
Somebody needs to tell Trump that the elections are not necessarily finalized on election day. Ask Al Gore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The link to the article that I put in the chat is really good, and it covers a lot of things like this. Diane, did you have your hand up or did you speak already?
Yeah, I just wanted, I understood that lady to say that they're going to do some letter writing to senators and congressmen about saving the post office.
Yes.
One of the things that would be really good to add to the narrative is the reason for everything that Trump does is about money. You all know that. And so the first thing he attacked when he attacked the post office was it's losing money. And that is incorrect. The military could be seen as losing money. So they're spending the money that was given to them. And unlike anything else that we've created, thank God for social services, the post office is written in the Constitution. So I would just ask in those letters to remember to name the Constitution and its efforts to always have post offices, and put into the narrative that they are not losing money. They're spending the money that is allocated for their use because they are a federal government entity. And so for me, if you make a letter and you make it compassionate, adding those particular facts would also to your letter would make your letter strong and would be very helpful, because I don't believe half of our elected officials really have ever read the Constitution.
That's for sure.
That's great. That's great.
Can I say something?
Yes.
If you're on Twitter, if you happen to be on Twitter, the hashtag interrupt Trump is a huge hashtag with these press conferences. I mean, these rallies that he's doing. And I think, I'm just filled with rage. But my rage right now is these press conferences that are like watching Russian television or, propaganda TV. So if you're on Twitter, just keep posting hashtag interrupt Trump. I really don't know what a hashtag does. I'm kind of new to Twitter myself, but that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. A lot of us are on Twitter for the first time, trying to amplify some hashtags, trying to call out some of the lies. We're having a good time, so wade in if you want to. It's fun.
Well, the hashtags, I think that's what trends on Twitter. So whoever has, the most of those hashtag interrupt Trumps, if there's a whole bunch of those, that's going to be trending on Twitter. And that's what we want.
help them trend. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say that the situation of so many people in this country is so dire right now. Not only what's happening with the virus, it's so terrifying for all of the essential workers and the healthcare practitioners, but also by some estimates, we could have up to 40,000 people evicted from their homes. These games that McConnell is playing and that Trump is playing, we just got to keep calling them out. And Tillis is just lying and lying and lying. We have to keep calling. It's such a pain in the ass to keep calling these senators, but I think we really need to keep doing it and faxing and emailing because they're so full of shit. And they're talking about, Pelosi and Schumer, they're just not negotiating. Well, they passed the HEROES Act in the House 2 months ago. And this is what the country needs. And so I think that much like what Reverend Barber's doing, which is wonderful every Monday, joining onto that, McConnell's phone machine has been filled for weeks now, but you can still email him. And you can still tweet at him, and you can still do a lot of other things on social media. And I think sometimes we get tired, but I think it's very powerful when there are hundreds of thousands of people saying the same thing.
I did get through on McConnell's voicemail yesterday, so it's not always full.
Oh, good to know, Evelyn.
I tried. It was like the 5th time and I got through. So
Wow. What
Yeah.
did you say?
Oh, I gave him hell.
Good.
I was raging.
And then, just one other thing I think we should mention is that all over the country, people are being arrested who are protesters, and some Black Lives Matter and other protest leaders are being targeted. They could just be standing there, or they can be in their homes. This happened in New York, a Black Lives Matter protester, a whole SWAT team came. But what also happened was that he was broadcasting live at that time. He refused to come out of the house or open his door. They did not have a warrant. It was terrifying to see these people come. But what also happened was that hundreds of protesters came to the house. And they were, they were going to charge him with a felony for no apparent reason. It did get reduced to a misdemeanor. But this is happening all over the country, and there's a lot of protests still going on. People in St. Louis are still protesting every day. Breonna Taylor's murder. So I think sometimes when we're feeling alone in our houses, we're not seeing that there's so much going on and people really fighting and showing up. And so we just have to keep showing up however we can. Yeah.
Is anybody going to Washington, D.C. on the 28th?
I don't know about it.
That's the Al Sharpton, the anniversary of I Have a Dream event.
Anniversary of the March on Washington.
The March on Washington.
And is it virtual or is it people going there?
Real. I'm going to try to go. My daughter lives in Silver Spring, right outside of DC.
Okay, so people are actually going to Washington.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be ready to go somewhere by then.
Is it the National Action League? That's his organization.
National Action Network.
He announced this right after George Floyd's funeral, that we were going to march.
But they've been planning it for at least a year.
And they're going to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be virtual, but I didn't watch it his show yesterday, so I'll watch it today to see.
I think it's live. I mean, I think they're.
No, he's only on the weekends. I'm days mixed up again, so I'm not sure. But
Okay, well, let's figure it out. You know, road trip maybe. You never know.
It is happening because I signed up the other day. You just do a Google search for National Action Network, August 28th, event in Washington or something like that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think we have to move toward closing because we want to hear from the grannies and then Scarlett. Thank you again, Bessie, and thank you everyone who's brought such rich sharing. Thank you, thank you. And if you don't get the letter from Jewel, put your email in the chat. If you don't get the newsletter, put your email in the chat so she can send you.
It's passed down.
We are grandmothers and we feel deeply the loss of connection with our families. And still we keep doing what we need to be doing to make this a better world for everybody. Step by step and step by step, people of the world, be strong. Day by day and day by day, wipe the blood and tears away.
Save our neighbors from their terrors, cut the chains that warp and bind. Open doors till all are free and leave oppression far behind.
Step by step and step by step, people of the world, be strong. Do not wait, we must go forward, though the road be steep and long.
Join with us to touch the bright sky as our own bold voices ring, gaining power from each other, growing stronger as we sing.
Step by step and step by step, we shall go with heads held high. No more fear and no more war. People power is our cry.
Join with us as we go forward, ever proud and ever strong. In the struggle, join together, united voices raised in song.
That was beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Just take a breath. Take a breath. Now, look at all these faces and think about those who are on their phone. We had 70 people today. Last week, Susan spoke of the tattered flag that was flying on Oak Island after the hurricane. And she reminded us that we hold the thread. We hold the thread to repairing our country. And as Reverend Barber said, we are called to be repairers of the breach. So that image has been in my mind. Now, look again at all these faces and take a moment to call on your ancestors. We're woven together in a tapestry. We've been at this for so many weeks. We're no longer strangers. And we're on a journey, a hard journey, to make this a better country. So one last time, look at all our faces. Life is but a weaving. I cannot choose the colors, but the threads are woven steadily. Every memory, every experience is thread woven, embroidered in our tapestry of life. And this tapestry continues to be woven. The light blends magically with the dark. Threads so delicate, so fragile. We need to take care of them. But any thread that is broken can most times be repaired. Now, everyone, unmute yourselves. Forward together.
Not one
Step
step
back.
back.
Forward together.
Not one step
back.
back.
Forward together.
Not one step back.
Hey, George.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Norma
you
and
so
Claudia.
much. That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
You too.
Norma and
Thanks,
Claudia, if
everyone.
you're still on, send me your email in the chat.